All right, so I had a question posed to me by one of my subscribers here. Hi, Tim. Which is essentially, I've learnt my triads. Now what do? What scales do I put under it? How do I make some licks? How do I make some stuff that joins them all together? Now, the answer to that's pretty simple. Best bet is to do pentatonic off each chord. But I think we should pause for a second before we jump straight to scales and just add one or two notes to our triad to help extend its range and to help it give us a little bit more things to say melodically. So, step one, know your triad. So, let's talk about C for now. Right? What we're going to add to start with is just chromatic approach to the third. And that sounds really fancy. What it means is we're going to find the third in each one of these chords. And we're just going to walk up to it by one step. So if we just play the triad like this, now we're going to do this. And already we can start hearing that this is a lick that's been used a lot. Okay, so chromatic approach to the third. Make sure you know that in all of your positions. And play around with it. And that's the first step, right? We've now got those. We could now do that across a chord progression. So we might go... sorry, I'm using the 6 already. Okay, so all I'm doing there is I'm playing my 1, 4, and 5. So here's 1. 4 is this one. I'm finding the third of 4 down here. It's lower octave. And I'm walking into a chromatic. And the 5 chord. And I'm walking into the third. And with that, we can make something that's already pretty cool. A little limited. I just wanted just a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, so we've gone chromatic third. Now we can add the 6, and this is where it becomes abundantly clear that you must have learned the intervals in your triad. So 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3. There's always going to be 2 different places to find each of these options, right? So we could do finding the 6th, 2 frets, 1 tone, above the 5th. So we find a 5th, 1, 3, 5. And we go up 2 frets. And that's our 6th. All right, let's do it on different inversions to be sure. Here's 5, 1, 3, second inversion. The lowest one, upper tone, to the 6th. That's our new note that we can add. 3, 5, 1, 5 is in the middle. That's the note we can add. The 6th. Okay, so now with those 2 options, we have something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more melodic. Okay, again, getting better, right? one step closer. Okay, there'd be another place of finding the 6, which would be 3 frets down from 1. So we had a tone up from 5, and 3 frets down from 1. 1, the major 7th, the dominant 7th, the 6th. So that would allow us to do things like this. This is all over my C chord. All right. Now, at this stage, we have 2 options. We're gonna add the 7. But if you wanted to find out where your pentatonic scale is, you could just add the 2. The 2 is found either a tone above 1 or a tone below 3. So if we did that, we get this. Which, if you're already familiar with your box shapes, that's box 2 pentatonic. That gets tied in with this root inversion shape. Now, we're not going to do that. The 2 is very cool. What we're going to add instead is the 7. So the 7, or the flat 7, as we're going to use in blues, the dominant 7, is going to be either a tone below 1. So here's our 1. Now we go down a tone. Or a minor third above 5. So that's 3 frets above 5. Here's 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3. 3 frets above. And with that, now we can make all of these kind of sounds. And already you can see that, like, this is now a story we can tell. This is now enough material that we can then turn this into something that someone might be interested in. And you've got to do this across all of your positions. Now, doing it this way, doing it by identifying an interval and tying that to your chord, I think overall is a better way, initially, than learning your scales. I learned it the other way around. I learned scales first. And if you do that, you find that after you learn your scales, that might take you a week or two. Now the big question is, what do I do with them? How do I unify this to other things I'm playing? How do I connect this to chords? And while that's a very interesting journey, I think it starts fixating on the wrong thing, which is we should be fixating on the way these things sound. And by doing it by a triad, which is a sound that is pretty predictable, right? They're pretty easy sounds to get in your head, pretty easy sounds to predict. Now you're tying them in a sound area. Boom, ba, da, ba, da, 6, 7, right? And you tend to pay a little bit more attention to them that way. So, don't jump straight to scales. Add 1 or 2 intervals and explore the sound with the triads as you go through a chord progression. Finally, after you've done a bit of that, you could cycle back round to pentatonic. Now remember, there's 2 major modes. There's 2 large ways. I don't want to use major and get it confusing. There are 2 large ways of looking at how to solo. One of which is unichordal soloing. So that means that we say this song is in the key of C, and we do everything in the key of C. So that means that if you're doing everything in the key of C, your pentatonic boxes will all stay the same. They'll be here. And it's your job to choose the best notes to accompany each one of the chords. But it means that you don't have to change scale. Now, one problem with this style of soloing is that it doesn't marry with the chords entirely. And because of that, the solo does sit a little separate. If I hadn't put those chord stabs in, you wouldn't be able to hear where the chords change. And really, a good melody often describes the chords. Most of the melodies of songs that you like will describe the chord changes. There will be important notes that tie in with the harmony at particular moments. So while unichordal soloing is very easy to get in your head, it's pretty much what most people do with a backing track, right? Oh, the backing track's in G minor. I know my pentatonic's in G minor. I'll just play in G minor the whole time. The larger challenge and the better challenge, and the one that actually provides better results in your playing, is trying to match the notes you play with the chords that are being played. All right, and that will have a different sound. For one thing, if we do it well, you kind of don't need the chords. You can hear where the chord changes are. Okay, no prep. Let's see if I can do it. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use triads to solve it. And I'm going to place some of those tensions that we talked about. I'm trying to mostly use the flat third to the third, the 6 and the 7. All right? Because this is going to be guided by my ear, I might use some other things. If I do, I'll try to let you know. Okay, so this might sound like this. Should be able to hear the chords change without me stabbing them out. So I'm just going to play melody. Okay, Job. But again, right, it was easier to hear the changes in the music. And that's because I don't need to jump on the chords to announce them. I'm already playing tones from those chords, and it's usually will direct your ear entirely to that location. So with these two modalities of improvisation, either I care immensely about the chords and I'm going to play everything from inside the chords, or I'm not going to care so much and just kind of take a top-down view. Oh, it's all in this key. It's in practicing both of these separate methods and bringing them together again that you end up with a conversant style of playing, something where you're actually going to be able to have a story made. So you need to practice both methods, and you also need to practice kind of coming in and out of it. There will be moments when it is more important for you to play what is in the chord, especially if that chord is not in the scale or key or has a note in it that's not in the scale or key. It would be very good to include those. But at other times, it's great to just drop back off into that pentatonic train and just go, oh, we're in G minor, so I'll just play a whole bunch of G minor stuff before eventually coming back in. All right, well, I hope that answered more questions than it raised. Catch you later, Tim.